It is the Red and Gold Summit Fieldwork Brewing Company in San Ramon. Glad you are all with us. You've made your plans to be here. All right. Bonta, you and Joe, you guys got to lead the way on this one because you made such a very large deal about it for much of the season last year. Well, you were ringing the bell for Christian McCaffrey before it happened.
So wait, do they matter?
What's that?
Running backs.
Of course.
All right.
Of course.
We got Willard and Dibs something.
However.
Tell me how you did it.
Walk
me through it.
Did I say running backs don't matter? That exact sentence?
Yeah, for like 2 months straight.
Well, you told us they didn't need a home run
He
here.
also said the salary cap doesn't matter, but now we're beating a different drum.
I don't think they need, but they certainly want.
Oh, he's a stud.
And there are very...
It changed the season.
But look at the running back market right now. The league is telling you there are very few McCaffreys.
That's the thing.
Okay.
I think he's in a unique category as a pass catcher.
But if you think, and Bonta, you just said he's your pick. That's your number one most important player. Let's focus on him for a second, and in a couple of different ways. This regime, I would argue, has been through a rough couple of weeks in terms of what people have said about them. But it was less than a year ago that they pulled that off.
Right.
How does that factor into the conversation?
I think it should factor into it. This regime has made blockbuster moves, starting with their first ever draft, going from 2 to 3. Now, whether or not they took the right player is another conversation, but they swung a big deal for D Ford. They swung the deal for McCaffrey. They signed Quan Alexander to big money. They've swung and missed. They've swung and hit on some big-time moves, and knowing that, boy, we can't run Deebo Samuel on these jet sweeps like we did a season ago. Boy, they figured out Deebo Samuel opposing defenses. We need another playmaker, not knowing whether or not George Kittle's going to be healthy, and not knowing where Brandon Ayuk is. That was a big-time move there by the 49ers, so they get credit. And they've done that throughout this entire run. I want to make that clear. They make big moves, and they make bold moves here, so they get credit for that.
If you were creating a guy in a lab for Shanahan, it would be Christian McCaffrey. The one-cut speed, the toughness, the vision between the tackles. Everybody knows he's great in fantasy. But when you watch him, he's just a complete back. What's the hole in his game? Like, I'm like, seriously, he runs better routes than everyone on the team not named Ayuk, right? His hands are as good as anyone.
I would say health, that's all.
Yeah, but he was healthy
last
he didn't even have one bye last week before he get traded from Carolina to the Niners. Apparently, he had a purple leg come NFC Championship game. I didn't tell because he had one of the great runs in 49er playoff history. No, he's an absolute superstar. And to me, the only worry, I know Goose talking about health, running backs, when you touch the ball 350 times, year after year after year, there is data that says very few guys are good 27, 28, 29 years old. This guy feels like an outlier, though, so I don't even want to put that on him. I mean, he's just, and I think they'll have him, not take shots. The thing watching him last year, he doesn't get squared up. Frank Gore, it's an art to not get squared up, twist your body, contort, go down.
Right.
He does a great job of protecting himself.
And now they have J.P. Mason, and they've got TDP who can run the ball.
Yeah.
So
Eli Mitchell's still there.
Yeah, exactly. So now you have a variety of guys who can run it, and I think you're right about him being Kyle Shanahan's dream player.
He's perfect.
You could put him in the slot, you can spread him out wide, you can have him as a single back, you can put him in the in an I formation with the juice check in front, whatever you need to do with McCaffrey. He's that player, and Debo's the same. So now Shanahan has all the toys, as Guru would like to say. So now there's no excuses on offense.
I remember when the deal went down and the 49ers were criticized by many nationally for saying, why would you give up that amount of draft capital for someone who keeps getting hurt? And I think a lot of people forgot that, no first-round pick was even involved in this. That's another thing to point out. What they gave up was, there were a number of picks.
Second and third. I
don't think it's not that much when you consider who you ended up getting, and then, of course, the fact that he uncorked a healthy season for you.
When we talk about McCaffrey, and I think this is the greatness of Kyle Shanahan, didn't he have 5 different leading rushers his first 5 years as a coach?
Yes, he did.
So that shows you that he can run the football with anybody. Then he saw McCaffrey. And so McCaffrey now becomes the guy who that's his back. The question now is at the quarterback position. He shows he can, they're going to have success because he knows how to coach the court. He can get a lot out of them. But can he find the guy who is his McCaffrey at the quarterback position, even if it's not as talented or it's a big name?
But wouldn't you say, like, for the quarterbacks, you're talking about Jimmy getting elevated, Purdy getting elevated by McCaffrey, he's like a cheat code. Because everything's covered on this beautifully designed play, and I just check it down, and he breaks 2 tackles, and it's a 3-yard pass. He turns into an 8-yard gain, and we're moving the sticks.
Well,
he's the ultimate cheat code.
We talk a lot about quarterbacks being elevated by McCaffrey. I wonder if we also look about McCaffrey being elevated by what's around him, because he was great in Carolina, but they never even had a very good receiver at all. Like the idea.
He came in and elevated.
And that was at the very end. But I look at McCaffrey, and it's especially a cheat code because Debo, because Brandon. And that's why when people say, hey, Brock Purdy, the defenses are going to have something different for you this year, I don't really know what that is. And I don't know how it is. As long as Brock is upright and making good decisions, you can't cover all these people.
Man, it's a great point.
You can't cover them.
And I got to be careful here, but you guys tell me what you think. I like I'm going to go Clint Eastwood, sudden impact of McCaffrey to this offense to that of Kevin Durant when he joined the Warriors. It was like the cheat code. You knew right then, oh my gosh, we were front and center. So I feel like McCaffrey has had that impact on this Niner offense, and that's why the people in the back that say, I need to see 4 or 5 more, 20 more quarters. Okay, but everything is so rich around them, it's going to be hard to fail.
Yep, you just got to stand and deliver. That's all you got to do if you're Brock. All right, what about this? Guru, where do the 49ers sit in the framework of the NFC this year?
Just because Philly got in that tail, I got to go second. They're right behind the Eagles. They have Jalen Hurts, who Steiny got mad. I feel like, okay, Missouri, show me again. I'm from the show me state. You did it last year. Can you follow up with that? But right behind the Eagles are the San Francisco 49ers.
Dibs, what do you think?
They're the top of the conference. They should be the top of the conference. They took one of Philly's best defensive players, and now they've got your guy at quarterback for a whole year, and they've got McCaffrey for a whole year, and you've got Brandon Ayuk in a contract drive. There's no reason why you can't be the best team in the conference, and I cannot wait until that game against Philadelphia. And I know that Bonta and Joe are all. Are you guys
I got aggregated again today, so I don't know. I don't know if I can go back into Pennsylvania.
Okay.
I'm dead serious.
Yeah, it was nasty.
You got aggregated?
Again, yeah. Every couple days, my mentions get flooded with Philly fans.
The old social media.
Yeah, Barstool took whatever from the fight from the In-N-Out Burger and then somehow tagged me into it, and the next thing you know, it's just a dumpster.
Congrats. That's good.
Yeah.
Why is always the biggest fist thrower in a Jerry Rice jersey? I mean, the GOAT.
That's honestly true.
Dude,
They throw great right hands.
the GOAT getting it done again with the right hands.
Wow.
Steiny, who do you consider the favorite in the NFC?
That's got to be the Eagles.
Stop it.
I mean,
Why?
because last year they went to the Super Bowl. They beat the beat the San Francisco 49ers, and they're essentially the same team. I mean, only here would that be remotely controversial.
No, it's not that it's controversial. I'll tell you why I think the 49ers are the favorite. It's a simple reason of the divisions in which they both play.
Well, and I think that's something we'll talk about a little more. That I don't think the NFC West is going to be as bad as people think.
I think the Seahawks.
I'm kind of with you.
I think the Seahawks can play. I think Arizona is fully focused on Caleb Williams. And I think that the Rams are going to be, if they're healthy, they'll be more productive than they were last year, but they're not a threat to the 49ers.
Well, it's about what you go in your division. They're not, of course, Arizona's not going to be a threat, but they can't beat you once, is what I'm saying.
I don't think Arizona can beat them once.
Well, I don't either at this point.
Yeah.
But can Seattle?
Colt McCoy did beat you a couple years ago.
Well,
can the Rams?
Joe,
he's not on Arizona
I know, but I'm just saying,
he got
it's
released.
easy to say, you should beat these guys. I mean, they swept the NFC West last year. I didn't see that coming.
And maybe it's a game where, Darnold's got to play for 2 or 3 weeks or something like that, and he struggles.
I would just say, Joe, you said it about does Philly even get out of the East a few minutes ago?
Division.
It is.
It's a tough division.
Even the supposed bottom feeder in the division, I don't think Washington's got a good defense. Yeah. I don't know if Howell's going to be able to play. They've got good guys at the skill positions. Like Philly, does not even have what the Niners have in Arizona, which is, in theory, a couple of games where you're going to be a double-digit favorite.
I think Philly, by far and away, is the best team in the NFC. As much as I can't stand that city, that fan base, I think they're disgusting.
Let it out.
That team is damn good. Jalen Hurts is a franchise quarterback. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith may be the best duo in football. They have the best offensive line, best defensive line. They are scary good. I think the Niners are closer to the Cowboys and the Seattle Seahawks and the New York Giants. It's not a crime. You just need to be better in January than the Eagles. But the Cowboys, those two games were very, very close. And you guys mentioned Tony Pollard getting hurt. I believe if Tony Pollard doesn't get hurt, the Cowboys go to Levi's Stadium and beat the 49ers. They do. The Niners were stuck.
I think their defense
is flying around.
I think Dallas' defense might be better than the Niners. It pains me to say that.
And Seattle, people
their
forget.
Front is good.
That wild card game. That wild card game.
They were winning it.
Seattle was driving.
You guys wouldn't let me get away with that.
And you have to acknowledge the personnel. Look, I'm just saying, the front seven dominated.
Turned it on the road.
They dominated that game, Dallas.
Hey.
And if Dak doesn't turn the ball over twice, watch the game back.
You guys don't think Seattle's better?
They had a lead
Seattle had a really good
halftime
drive.
in the playoff game.
Seattle's
on your
good.
turf.
Seattle's good.
Late third quarter, they were driving. So the Niners are closer to the Cowboys and Seahawks. And I think it's Philly and it's everybody else in the
I worry
NFC.
about the Giants. I think the Giants are a sneaky, very good team. I think Brian Daboll is on to something. No one thought Daniel Jones was good. I'm very impressed with them. They've made some nice personnel decisions, and no one can reference any of their wide receivers yet. All they do is throw the ball. They got acquired Waller. I like them.
Schedule is way tougher than the Niners. They have to face the AFC East, so they've got Buffalo, they've got Miami, they got the fighting Rodgerses and
Benny
the
and the Jets.
So I think that Philadelphia, they're not going 15-2, and really the one game they lost late was a game that they gave up on. So Philadelphia's schedule much tougher, and I'm not buying into the Rams at all. Yeah, Seattle's a little bit better, but the Niners only have a couple of tough schedule spots.
I think Seattle.
You sure? They have to go to Jacksonville?
I think Seattle's really
They host
good.
Cincinnati. They host
Cincinnati's a
Baltimore.
scheduled loss.
They
Bonta.
play
Put it
Dallas.
down.
They play the Giants on the short week on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
Niners' schedule not that easy.
And how imperative is it that
Sure,
they get home? Like the last two seasons that were great for the Niners, before the halfway mark, they were under 500. Like, you've been on the road taking 2 L's in the last day. You got to get that game back at the house if you want to get the Super Bowl.
Two quick things on the Eagles, though. To your point about the schedule, Dibs. They are matched up with the AFC East, which is obviously a good division. But when you go to a 17th game, you get that extra game sometimes. The Eagles won extra game outside of the AFC East at Kansas City.
Thank God.
Okay, so they got the Chiefs also. And Bonta, when you say they got the best defensive line in football, does that not at least become a question with Hargrave trading from one team to the other?
No, because they drafted Jalen Carter, who was supposed to be the number 1 overall pick.
And Terrence
Davis.
2.0.
And Terrence Davis just lost a lot of weight, so they got another Georgia front. You got, Reddick is on the edge. Are you kidding me?
No, they're still good.
Hargrave. Same buddy got Jalen Carter, who was all throughout the season the number 1 overall pick. And then he got into some trouble, and he slipped down to 9, which I think Philadelphia may have floated to get their guy, like you brought up Don Nelson, when he floated the injury on Tim Hardaway. Maybe Philly with Jalen Carter.
And we got all season to let the Niners pass the Eagles. It ain't the time for it now.
Name one
That's
receiver
all.
on the Eagles.
I don't want to. I wouldn't justify that at this point. Exactly.
Hey, Joe and Bonta, are the Niners undefeated when they take on the Cowboys in Week 5?
No.
Cincinnati, isn't that before the Cowboys?
No.
Is that after?
It's at Pittsburgh, at LA, home to the Giants, and home to the Cardinals.
Wouldn't be surprised if the Niners open 2-2.
Wow.
All right,
Pittsburgh's going to be tough.
Let's hang on.
Pittsburgh's going to be tough.
Let's
What's
talk
there
about
Short
that.
week, New York Giants.
Let's talk about that for a second. This
I'm a realist, folks.
Hey.
I don't wear pom-poms. Not here, buddy.